Hi, you already made yourself familiar with Scratch. Today we'll continue to build on that knowledge. In the first section we'll talk about variables and counters. You have already used variables in previous section when you used, for example, block text-to-speech and you set voice to something, yeah? In this case the voice was your name of the variable and squeak was the value. However, it's built in variables that Scratch already gives us. Let's see how we can create our own variables. To create a variable, go to Variables tab, click Make a Variable, and set its name. Let's name it Score. Click OK. Now you should see the variable in Variables tab here, and you can check here if you want to see it on the display. Now let's connect the following blocks. Go to Events. When this sprite is clicked, start sound meow, and set my variable to 1, for example, and we need to change it to score, yeah, because our variable is score. When we click the sprite, it will play sound meow and set score to 1. Now let's create another variable. Click on Make a Variable. Name it my name, click OK. Now again drag when this sprite is clicked and set my variable to, change it to my name and drag speak hello after it. Yeah, so we need to change now my name is cat. And we'll speak our variable, my name. Yeah, I need to remove that. And when I click the sprite,
my name is Cat.
The cat says my name is Cat. Now let's talk about user input. User input is when you ask the user to type something into the computer. Let's see an example. So again we need when this sprite is clicked, then we go to sending blocks. Let's remove that. Ask what's your name and speak. And here we need to change hello to answer, again from sentence. Yeah. Now when we click the sprite, we will see a speech bubble and input box where we can enter something. Let's enter some name. I'll enter test.
Test.
And now the cat says test. We can also save the user input into our own variable. Let's create a variable. Name it username. Well, connect when sprite is clicked, ask what's your name, then we'll need to set the variable. Yes, so we will set username to the answer, and then we can speak the username. Yes, we need that, and we need to connect it all. And then we can click on sprite, it will still ask for a name, we'll enter name, and it will say it. So we created the variable username and set it to the answer that is automatically entered by the user. Let's now create a sentence using the join block with user inputs. Remove the username from speak and go to operators menu and use join into the speak, and we'll join hi my name is like this with a variable, so it is the username. When I click the sprite now, I can also enter my name.
Hi, my name is Test.
And I would say hi my name is Test, so hi my name is what I have entered. Our next topic would be operators. In this section we'll learn about 3 types of operators, so those are arithmetic, relational and logical operators. Arithmetic operators is math operators such as a plus, minus and so on. So let's do some math using Scratch. Again we need when this sprite is clicked, then we need speak, and into speak we go to operators. Here we can use plus inside the speak. and we would add 4 plus 5. When I click the sprite,
9,
it says 9 because 4 plus 5 is 9. We can also add more numbers together with more operators, so I can do like that. And now I can enter here numbers like 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8. And when I click the sprite, it
30.
says 30, because it's 30. Now let's go over a special kind of arithmetic operator. It's called modulo operator, also known as modulus or mod operator. So this operator is used for getting a remainder of division operator. Yeah, when we divide 5 by 2, we get 2 and the remainder would be 1. In coding, to get the remainder, you would need the modulo operation. In Scratch, we would just use mod, and it is here. So we can enter here numbers. Let's remove this here and use mod. So for example, let us use 5 mod 2. And when we click the sprite,
1,
it says 1, yeah, because the remainder would be 1. Modulo operator is often used in programming to determine if the number is odd or even. So even numbers divided by 2 would get a remainder of 0, and we would get mod equals 0. Odd numbers divided by 2 get a remainder of 1, and when we would get mod of odd number, we would get 1. So for example, 6 mod 2 would get us 0, and 7 mod 2 would get us 1. So we can understand that 6 is even and 7 is odd. Now let's talk about comparison or relational operators. They're used for comparing things. In programming, we use double equals to understand if two numbers are the same. In Scratch, we would use for that this block. For example, you may want to compare if a student is 16 years old before they can learn to drive. So you would say that the student age would be equal to 16. Or maybe you ask the user a question and want to know if they answered yes or no. So you can get the answer and compare it with yes and compare it with no. Let's see how we can do that in Scratch. So drag and connect the following blocks. When this sprite is clicked again, we need to use now say hello for 2 seconds, for example. And we would insert here the logical operator and compare two numbers, 5 and 5. Now when we click the sprite, it says true for 2 seconds. Because 5 equals 5, we can do the same with words. So it would be yes equals no. When we click the sprite, it will get us false because this is false. We also have greater than operator. You can get it still here. It is here. When we replace it with the previous one, we can enter something like 5 greater than 4. When we click the sprite, it will get us true because 5 is greater than 4. When we would switch them like 4 greater than 5, it would get us false because this is false. We also have less than operator that would do the opposite. Now let's talk about logical operators such as AND, OR, and NOT. They are used for combining two or more comparison operators. AND operator is used to combine operators in such ways that all conditions need to be true to be true in result. Let's say we want to check that person is 18 years old and has a valid license in order to drive. We need to check for two conditions. If person age equals 18 and person's license is valid. So both conditions have to be true. We would use then AND operator to combine them. OR operator needs to have only one true condition to be true. Suppose we are conducting a car wash and we are only washing pink, yellow or blue cars. Here are 3 conditions, so car needs to be pink, or car needs to be yellow, or car needs to be blue. Any one of 3 conditions has to be true. That's why we use logical OR operator to combine them. NOT operator takes one condition and reverses it. For example, let's look at condition age equals 16. this is checking to see if the age is equal 16. If we would use not age equals 16, this would check if age is not equal to 16. So this would be true if age is any other number than 16. Let's do some practice. Drag the following. So one sprite is clicked, and we need to delete all of this, and use now say and those two conditions. So it is 1 equal, oops, not like this, like this, 1 equal and second equal. And what we'll insert here is 4 equals 4 and 5 equals 5. So when we click the sprite, it would say as true, because this is true. Now we can check more conditions, like we can add here another AND, and inside AND we can use 5, oops, not like this. So we can use like more conditions. 5 greater than 5, and for example 10, so we would use here 10 less than 17. So when I click the sprite, I would get false because this is false. And let's try not. So when we would get not to something, so it would be like not 5 equal to 5, for example. When I click the sprite, it will get false because 5 equal 5 is true, and not to this would be false. When we would use always two conditions, like for example 4, here we would use 4 equals 4 or 5 equals 5. Okay, so here we need to use 5 equals 5. We would get still true because it's enough to get one true to get true at the end. Now let's talk about pick random block. So it's also located in operators here, but it's technically not an operator. It lets you pick random number between two numbers. So let's try it. We go to events when flag clicked, and then say for 2 seconds, pick a random from, for example, 1 to 10. So when I click the sprite, I would get not the sprite, the flag, I would get the random number between those two. So I can click again, and I would get now 9. We can also set the random number to a variable, so let's create a variable. Go to here, make a variable, my num, and we need to set it, set my num to random number, so like this. And we need now to save my num, like this. When I click the flag, it would still save random number between 1 and 10. Our next topic would be conditions and if statements. Condition is basically something that compares two things. In the previous section, when you used logical operators such as equal here, to compare things, this entire block is known as conditions. Conditions are typically used with if statements. An if statement uses a condition to determine a certain result. It can be illustrated like if condition, then some result. It would be easier to understand with an example. So let's connect the following blocks. Events, when flag clicked, not flag, oops, when sprite is clicked, we would get control, and here we have if, as you can see. Insert here a condition that, for example, 5 is greater than 4. And we would say here some message, like it's greater. Greater. 30 seconds. Yeah, and when I click the sprite, it would say it's greater, yeah, because this condition that we have here is true. That's why we need we would have the result run. If condition would be false, we wouldn't get it. So if I change it to 4 greater than 5, for example, I wouldn't so the sprite wouldn't do anything because the condition is false. Now let's repeat it with variables. Let's create two variables called first and second. So we go to make a variable, first, okay, and second. Yep. We need to set first to 5, like this, and second needs to be 7, like this. Then we need to replace the numbers with the variables inside our condition. Yes, so we would here use first, and here we would use second, like this. Yeah, and if I click the sprite, it wouldn't do anything, yeah, because first variable is 5, and 5 is not greater than 7, yeah, so 7 is greater than 5. That's why we have a false condition, and that's why we don't do anything. Now let's talk about if-else statement. So if-else statement is a variation of if statement. It allows you to insert two result areas. So if statement is true, we would get first result. If statement is false, we would get second result. Let's look at the example. You again need to use when sprite is clicked here, but we would use now if else. We still have it at Control tab, like this. And here we need to replace first and second with 5 and 4, for example. Here, so 5, 4, like this. And inside, first condition would be is greater, yeah, because if it's true, 5 would be greater than 4. And second condition, we would say that it's now less, yeah, because it would be less if the statement is false. It's less. Yeah, so I now can remove this because I don't need it. And when I click it, it says it's greater, yeah, so because it's true, yeah, our condition is true. If I change it to false condition, so like 4 greater than 5, it would be false. When I click the sprite, it would say it's less, yeah, because 4 is less than 5. And the last thing that we'll talk about is nested if statements. So you did a great job so far. A nested statement is when you put an if statement inside another if statement. You can also have nested if-else statements that the process would be the same. Let's take a look at the example. So again, we need, when the sprite is clicked, go to something, get ask what's your name. Then we would need to create a variable. We already have it, it's my variable. So we need to set it to the answer, yeah, so it would be the name. Then we would need to have if-else statement, and we would use here a condition. We would check if our variable, so it is my variable, we need to check if it's equal to Mike. Yeah, so the name would be Mike, and yeah, so we would do something when the name is the Mike. But in else, so in other case, we would say sorry, you can't enter, yeah, because you failed the answer. So we say sorry, you can't enter. Like this. Now we need to add blocks to if part. Let's insert inside it ask what the password and wait. Yeah, so again we need to use ask. Here we need to change it to what's your, not name, but password. Yeah, and after it we need to add another if block. So now not if else but if block. Yeah, so in if block we would again check if something is equal to something. We would in this case check if the answer to a question is equal to cat. Yes, so the password would be cat, and if we know the password, we would say now that we have entered. Yes, so we would say welcome to your kingdom, Mike, like this. And then when I click the sprite, enter Mike's name, enter cat is password, it would say welcome to your kingdom mine. Yeah, because we entered everything correctly. So we had both ifs, we had true here. Yeah, so everything was true. If we would, for example, run it again, yeah, so I click on it and enter name like Sam, it would say sorry you can't enter, yeah, because you done something wrong. Yeah, so the statement here is false now. Yeah, so that's it. Thanks for the lesson. See you next one. Goodbye.